Hello, everyone. Ex-Walk Hill Bethelite here. And we need to re-examine this Watchtower teaching about apostates because the videos that the Watchtower cult made, where they were changing their teachings as usual, they wanted to make sure that they doubled down on their apostate beliefs. Now, let's say a person takes Uber to work. And you got different Uber drivers. And there's a specific Uber driver that has a really bad reputation. I'm talking every few years he's in an accident. Or he's taking somebody clear to the other side of town because his GPS is messed up. It keeps giving him bad directions. He keeps having to change his GPS system because it. Now, what if a person decides, you know what? I'm gonna take Lyft. I'm gonna take some other app that's going to get me a ride that's more dependable. I want a ride that's dependable. I gotta get to work. There's certain things you gotta do. You can't be late. That's important. Well, do you think the Uber driver is the issue in this scenario, or the person who doesn't want to use Uber that's unreliable? Is that the issue? Because according to Jehovah's Witnesses, the problem is not the Uber driver who gets into an accident every few years. It's not the Uber driver that keeps taking people to the wrong location, talking about his GPS ain't right and it has to keep getting updates. You know, the GPS signal gets brighter and brighter every time there's an update. And until then, it just keeps taking people to the wrong place. According to Watchtower, that's perfectly fine. The problem is the person who had their nerve to want to get a different ride to work. One that's dependable. It's them that's the problem. We'll call them the apostate. What about a person who is on a boat and you can see this boat is headed directly for another ship? It's about to wreck. Now, you have some people that decide they're going to stay on the boat and wreck with it. And then you got other people that decide we jumping up out this bad boy. We're going to jump off the boat before it wrecks. They see it's about to wreck. They know 100% it's going to wreck. So they jump off the boat to avoid the wreck. Matter of fact, the pilot, the person driving the boat, I don't know if you call the people that drive boats pilots, but the person, the captain of the ship, it's the captain. The captain, if you look at his record, he's wrecking ships every other year. They got to come up with a new ship because he keeps on wrecking the ship. That or going the wrong way. People want to go to the Bahamas and end up in Louisiana somewhere or something like that because he's just unreliable. What is the problem in this scenario? Is it the people jumping off the boat that's about to wreck? Or is it the pilot or the captain that's so unreliable? Like, we can run this scenario over and over and over again in a lot of different situations. And in all those situations, according to Watchtower, the cult that uses the title Jehovah's Witnesses, the issue is not the captain that keeps wrecking the ship. He's not a problem at all. Because every time he wrecks the ship, his mind gets brighter, or in other words, he learns how to drive a little bit better each time he wrecks. So the problem, according to Watchtower, are these people that have their nerve to jump off the ship. We should call them apostates. Matter of fact, no one should even talk to these people who feel their safety is important, more important than this captain figuring out how to pilot a ship while he's got people on the ship with him. Like, the safety of these people don't matter. I'll figure it out as I go, how to pilot a ship. I'll figure it out as I go. As I wreck, I'll get a little bit more knowledge. And, you know, who cares how it harms people? We really have to re-examine this concept, because the concept of an apostate is not a person who's trying to find something that's more reliable. The concept of an apostate is a person who leaves a religion. Now, religions aren't supposed to be wrong at all, let alone all the time. For a lot of us, we don't believe Watchtower should be a legal religion. I couldn't be a legal Uber driver if I wrecked the car darn near every time I get in it. I couldn't be a legal pilot if I wreck planes regularly or take them to the wrong state or wherever regularly. I couldn't be a legal captain of a ship if I'm constantly wrecking the ship. How can a person have a legal religion and they are constantly teaching wrong, false teachings and admitting to it, not even hiding it, because we got to change it. This was so bad, we now have to change it. How is it possible this is a legal religion that just regularly teaches falsehoods? Now, you got Watchtower saying the problem is not Watchtower constantly teaching something that's false. And I'm talking about from its infancy. Watchtower was teaching things that was false about the end of the world coming in 1975, about millions living way back, what was it, in the 60s or something, or way back in Rutherford's time. Millions living then would never die. Now Rutherford and everybody's dead. Like, they have been teaching false teachings from its beginning so bad that it doesn't want its members to read Watchtowers that are older, because the cult knows everything we taught before was false. So Watchtower shuns its own older self. Watchtower shuns itself. You don't talk to, or you don't read old Watchtowers, because we know all that information was false. This is not a religion. There's no such thing. There's no such concept. This is an abomination. This is something that should never have existed. You can't say leaving Watchtower is leaving a religion. It's not like leaving the Baptist church. Because I guarantee you, if the Baptist church were to every few years admit its teachings are wrong and we got to figure it out as we go, and then a few more years, our teachings are wrong, we got to figure it out as we go. Or if they made false predictions about the end of the world is coming at a specific date and it never came. You know how we're in 2024 and whatnot. And you know how much time has passed since 1975 They weren't just wrong, they were completely wrong. This cannot be considered apostasy by doing something that is common sense. It is common sense that if a religion is constantly misleading people, and I don't mean misleading as in it's my opinion that they mislead. Just like, for example, you have Catholics that may not agree with Lutherans. That's different. The Lutherans maintain that they're correct, and the Catholics maintain that they're correct. In this scenario, Watchtower or the Jehovah's Witnesses themselves, they agree that they're wrong. And they agree that they're wrong all the time. They know it. They even created a teaching talking about the light gets brighter every time we screw up, essentially. Like, that is no difference from me saying, well, I should be able to work for Uber even if I wreck the car every other year, because every time I wreck, my skills get sharper. The skills get sharper and sharper every time I wreck the car. Like this is not how it works anywhere else. Anywhere else in society, it don't work like that. You don't get to just screw up and say, I should put everybody else's lives in jeopardy because, hey, every time I screw up, I get a little bit better. This situation where Watchtower wants to call people who refuse to follow a group of men who are always wrong apostates. They don't even fit. That doesn't even fit. That's not like a Baptist leaving the Baptist church. It's not like the Catholic leaving the Catholic church. It's you're leaving from following someone like Watchtower who is telling you that they're going to be wrong oftentimes. When they said that they weren't going to apologize for misleading people anymore. Like it's not even to where they feel like they need to apologize because they do it so often. So we have to revisit this concept of apostasy because there's a dictionary definition of apostasy. There's a dictionary definition of religion. And you can't even say that Jehovah's Witnesses are, a religion is something you do religiously. Jehovah's Witnesses changed their teaching so much that you couldn't almost even say that they religiously follow a set of dogma. Because the dogma is constantly getting erased and reprinted and erased and redone. And, we got it wrong. We got to fix it. This is something that you have people, I think, that have left that religion. And they're so happy that they left that false religion that they even embrace the term apostate. But you would have to agree that even they aren't apostates in the real sense of the word. I mean, it's almost the exact same as if a person was a part of Heaven's Gate and they left Heaven's Gate after they found out that all those people committed suicide, eating poison applesauce and dying and whatnot. After they finished doing all that, and the person who was being recruited said, "Oh, heck no, I'm not this. I ain't part of this." Are they an apostate, or did they just do the freaking most blatant, obvious, common sense? There's no other choice but to not join that. Or the Branch Davidians after it got burnt up. David Koresh and all those people in there, however it caught on fire, that's a debate as to how it caught on fire. But after it caught on fire and the man that said he was Jesus is burnt to a crisp in this building, there may have been people who were still being recruited but not fully in it yet. What if they decide, well, no, that probably ain't Jesus burning up in them hot buildings right now? I mean, that's common sense. That's not the same as leaving a belief that you were a part of and you just decide you're no longer going to follow those beliefs. That's basically someone lying to you and you no longer believe the lie. That's not the definition of an apostate. A person who refuses to believe someone who's lying to them. That's not the definition of an apostate. And I'm not talking about, because this whole concept of religion, when you're talking about other religions, Baptists, Catholics, it's people's opinion that the Catholic Church may be lying to people, or it's people's opinion that the Baptist Church may be lying to them. With Jehovah's Witnesses, and this is what we're talking about, Jehovah's Witnesses, that's cult in specific, they admit to being wrong, and they admit to having a history or a habit of being wrong. They essentially admit that they're lying to people. So it's not even an opinion that they're being lied to or have been lied to. It's fact. It is fact, where you got all these men who are in their 70s that never had beards and they're trying to grow them now. Because Watchtower told them they weren't allowed to have beards, and now they are. Like, it's just ridiculous. It is beyond ridiculous. So we have to re-examine this, because I don't believe that people who leave the cult of Jehovah's Witnesses qualify to be apostates, because the cult is so ridiculous. It shouldn't even exist to begin with. It shouldn't be considered a religion in the same tier as other religions. It is something, the cult of Jehovah's Witnesses is not even on the same level as other cults. You don't even have other cults that you can point to that get their teachings wrong, and I mean so wrong that they even have to admit to everybody they got it wrong, and this happens every few years or so, where they're correcting a mistake, but they have to correct it because it's blatantly obvious that it was a mistake, and it's embarrassing. So you comment down below, but it's important, because I'm not even going to buy a brand of cereal if every time I pour it in my bowl, something is in there other than what it is that's supposed to be in there. Like, I'm pouring a bowl of honeycomb and you got pine cones coming out the box. And that's not even that important, but I'm not going back and keep getting boxes of honeycomb if these people keep screwing up and something else keeps coming out the box. That don't make me an apostate. That's freaking common sense. Everybody should do that. So when you're talking about something important, like your actual spiritual beliefs in God and finding a place to get direction, and you're going to a place that is constantly wrong, and you know that they're constantly wrong, it's common sense to leave. You can't call the person an apostate. It's common sense. Why in the heck wouldn't they leave? So comment down below. I think we need to, and I would love to even talk to, you could bring an elder on. I would talk to a Jehovah's Witness cult elder, and I can guarantee you they couldn't even make sense of looking at a person who is no longer following a group of people who have a history of misleading people, as, well, the person not following these very, very unreliable people, there's something wrong with the person. Not the fact these people are unreliable, it's the person. They couldn't even make sense of that. And I think that's one of the reasons why Watchtower changed its teachings to say, well, hey, people are allowed. Remember, they did change this, and they said that people are allowed to join their cult at the last minute after they see evidence of there being truth there, which makes sense because they've been wrong so often all this time. So yeah, a person would want to see some evidence before they join it. So it doesn't even make sense to call people apostates when Watchtower even admits, well, hey, people can join all the way up to the last minute after they've seen some evidence. People need to see some evidence. Our track record is so bad. Whether you still calling them apostates? Or are you calling people who have bad experiences with the religion apostates? You can't even do that, because a person who has a bad experience because they're getting misled and misguided and told things that ain't true, do you think that would be a positive experience? Of course it's a bad experience. Of course it's not going to be flowery praise heaped upon these people who have been misleading them for so long. Like Watchtower, like Jehovah's Witnesses, constantly telling people things that ain't true and then having to change it. So all of these things, the Bible even says you reap what you sow. So when Watchtower reaps what it sows and people have bad experiences because Watchtower has been misleading people, Watchtower can't point to the people that had the bad experience and say it's their fault. Nobody does this. This is what I'm getting down to. We've experienced flights that keep leaving without its passengers and causing all kinds of inconveniences. We've experienced that personally, and the airline would never point to the customer and say, well, it's your fault that you had this bad experience because our plane left you. We did this to you, so it's your fault that you didn't enjoy it. No one would. Only Jehovah's Witnesses do things that idiotic, where they've misled people for so long, and if people have had enough, it's the people who's been misled's fault. They're the apostates, not the people teaching falsehoods. Teaching false teachings is perfectly fine according to Jehovah's Witnesses. Perfectly fine according to Jehovah's Witnesses. Hey, the light gets brighter every time we fix a false teaching. And according to them, they fixed it, but they don't even know that they're right now, because the same people who've been giving them this false information, those are the people, quote unquote, fixing it. So that is a mess of a religion. And, you know, I think that people's families not speaking to relatives who do the common sense thing and stop following a group of men who've been constantly wrong. Can you imagine the stupidity of not speaking to a relative because they refuse to follow a group of men that are constantly wrong? You know how dumb that is? Like, there's no other explanation for it. There's no other way of putting it other than, you know how dumb it is? For, let's say I'm following a group of people that are always wrong, and then Serenity is like, you know what, I'm not following them because they've been wrong the last 30 freaking times we followed them. And then I get mad at her for not wanting to follow somebody that's always wrong. That's dumb. Like, it's inhumanly dumb. Like, there's certain things that you would think that a human is not even capable stooping so low into the realms of stupidity. But that's what Jehovah's Witnesses have been doing. Jehovah's Witnesses refuse to speak to their own relatives who refuse to knowingly follow a false religion, a religion that teaches false teachings. It's dumb. And you don't have, and this is the last point I want to bring out, and you don't have Baptist churches that I've ever seen calling people who want to go to a, let's say, Pentecostal church, calling them apostates and telling their family members not to speak to them and all that sort of thing. Cults do that. That's why you don't have the Baptist church doing it. You got the Catholic Church, and the Catholic Church has the ability to excommunicate people. I've never heard of a Catholic Church excommunicating a person because they wanted to switch from the Catholic Church and go to the Baptist Church. Never heard of it. Why? Cults do that. Cults need a way to scare people into staying inside their control. That is why the only groups of people that tend to threaten people to stay inside their religion, shunning, they call it, tend to be cults. And that's what Jehovah's Witnesses do. They shun people who don't want to stay in their religion, even though you would have to be an imbecile to stay in that religion. A complete imbecile. A complete and total imbecile. So comment down below. Let me know what you think. I might do a live about this because I want, let an elder get on the live and then we can debate it on live as to how you compare a person, because a false teacher, a person who's a false prophet isn't considered a prophet of God. So if a person stops following a false prophet, they ain't left God. No one would be dumb enough. I'm talking about go all the way back into antiquity. No one would be dumb enough to have proclaimed that if you stop following someone who's been identified, they admit they've been teaching falsehood. They're a false prophet. If you stop following the false prophet, then you're not following God. No one would think something that damn stupid. But that's Jehovah's Witnesses. If you would follow Jehovah's Witnesses, we gotta have Serenity on these videos because you have ideas. Yeah, they're good ideas, but then it's coming and there's no face to it.
I'm camera shy.
But yeah, no one in antiquity would have ever claimed what Jehovah's Witnesses claim, and it's that the people who are not following the false teachers, those are the problems. Never. Back in the Bible times, the false prophet would have got stoned to death. He'd have got pelted with rocks until he was dead, and no one would have called all the people that stopped following him after that apostates. It's just dumb. It's ridiculous. Only Jehovah's Witnesses even have concepts that stupid. They can teach as many false teachings as they want. If you don't like it, you're the apostate. You're the problem. Pure ridiculous. So I'm about to head off of here, get myself some breakfast. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. X-Wall Kill Bethelite signing out.